Today's guest is Stolen Stars. Based out of Provo, Utah, Stolen Stars has been building a reputation as a band to watch and is currently preparing for their next release, the Thought Broadcasting EP. Welcome, Stolen Stars.
Hello,
Hey
hello.
guys, how you guys doing
Hello.
today?
We are. He's
Excellent.
good. I'm good.
Always excellent.
We're
Awesome.
here in the house, just hanging. So
Awesome. Looks like that's your studio, is it?
it's a work in progress, but yeah, this is where the magic happens. So
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Looks like a cool setup.
Where
All right,
babies
start
are
us
made.
back at the beginning. Where were you guys born and raised? And then how did music come into your lives individually?
Oh man, this guy came first. Out of mom. So
Yes.
where
did
were
come out of
you?
mom
Where were you?
first.
Yeah, you came out of mom
A
first.
few
but-
years.
Yeah,
I was born in Sandy, but growing up, we moved a lot. It was rare if we lived in a house for longer than 9 months. So we've kind of been all over the map between here, California, Florida. I don't know where you were born. Were you born in Utah?
I was born in Utah.
Okay.
Yeah. Were you born in Utah, Brandon?
I was actually born in Texas.
You were
Yeah.
born in Texas. That's where our
Arlington,
sister
Texas.
is.
Like in
Yeah.
Texas.
What part of Texas?
Arlington, so like Dallas, Fort Worth area. I was like right
Oh,
by
right on.
Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Oh, right on. Do you
Yeah.
miss it?
I do. I haven't been back in like 8 years, but I want to go back so bad this year.
8 years? What are you doing, man?
It's been forever. Yeah, I
What
know.
are you doing? 8 years. That's
That's
too
the
long.
question.
That's too long, man.
Way
Do you
too
miss-
long.
Do you have
I mean,
family there?
I have like one set of cousins, but
Oh,
the
okay,
rest
so-
kind of moved elsewhere. I mean, it used to be a
Okay.
lot more. So there's
Okay,
less holding
okay.
me there, I guess, right now. But I still want to go back and like see if it's just like this childhood gloss that makes it so special to me. Or
Right.
it's
Are you
actually like
close?
as good as I remember.
You close with your cousins?
Yeah. I mean, not as close as I used to be, probably, but we're still family. We still love each other.
Still
But,
family?
like,
Still, yeah.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So he was born. Yeah, we've kind of been all over the place. But are you wanting to know the origins of Stolen Stars in particular?
Yeah. So are you two brothers?
Yeah.
We are brothers. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Who's the oldest brother?
This guy. He's older. He's older than me about 5 years, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. 5.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so he's older. And what happened was I started Stolen Stars about 3-4 years ago with another gentleman who is one of my great friends. Just super nice guy. He actually does he's still involved. He does all of our artwork and stuff. But we were playing music together for a long time, and we started Stolen Stars together. And then he got married and just kind of took a different life path, and which is fine, totally fine. And then as soon as he kind of bounced out, I said, Tanner, why don't you come and play music with me, and you'll fill the gap. And so
He had no idea what he was asking for.
I didn't. I had no clue. He's so creative and so talented, and there's kind of some hidden talent there that I didn't really know about, just creatively, and it was really interesting working with him. But this first EP is our first project together, and it was just kind of our way of trying to figure each other out. And so we in fact, that's why we called it Thought Broadcasting. It was just kind of like a collection of me and his thoughts, and we're just kind of figuring each other out. And so we just felt like that was the perfect title for it. But that's kind of our origin. Just been playing music and writing music, and the usual, dude.
Yeah. Did you guys grow up?
Two music lovers that have big dreams and big hopes, and we hope someday it turns into something bigger. So
I hope so too. I think so. Did you guys grow up in a musical household? Like, was there more music
Yeah.
around you guys, or how'd that come in your lives?
So, my mom was involved. Our mom was involved in theater a lot in college, and so we just always had a very musical, I guess, oriented background, very theatrical type music. Lots of old, just musicals from the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's has a
Yeah.
pretty big influence on
yeah,
the grandiosity behind kind of how
Yeah.
we drive our music. I mean, obviously he and I have fundamental differences in our approach. However, I think that ultimately from the background, we're both very theatrically geared because of that.
Yeah.
So we have two sisters that are super involved in theater. One of our sister does like community theater and things like that, and just big, loud, booming, singing voices.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're talking Singing in the Rain, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. What else? Calamity Jane.
just all
Just
those
everything.
old school, really
Everything.
obnoxious
Yeah.
1950s musicals.
Yeah, we watched them
Really
all.
cool.
We couldn't get away from, but we appreciate it. We really do. I think there's a little bit of a disconnect with other people that, I think that don't watch those and don't have that same background.
Yeah.
Because we have you guys seen Singing in the Rain? What? Singing in the Rain? Like, come on. And then we're like, no, it's so great. And it's just a little bit of a disconnect there. But yeah, very musically, very, very musical family. Very.
That's such a cool influence though, because like the melodic standards that those brought in to, entertainment and music, it's just amazing. I mean, sometimes it's overlooked these days just how important those were to music as a whole. And I think they're kind of like underappreciated these days, but that's amazing. You guys have that as an influence.
Thank you. Yeah, you should watch Singing in the Rain. That was the point.
Oh, I've seen it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, there you go. You've seen it.
Yeah, my family's been kind of the same way. It's like my mom is very much into the classics, like Seven Brides, Seven Brothers, Singing in the Rain, Oklahoma, that sort of stuff. So like I haven't like personally like dived into it a ton, but I know about it. I'm familiar with it at least. And it's, it's good stuff.
That's great.
So what about like modern music? Do you guys have any influences from these days along with those classic influences and like specifically like musicians?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where we start to diverge in terms of influence, which is cool because it creates a very interesting dynamic in our music that we've kind of had to learn how to navigate. But yeah, I mean, I kind of lean more towards like psychedelic pop bands, like the Elephant Six Collective bands, like of Montreal, and Gorky's Zygotic Monkey and that sort of thing. And awesome. Then, I mean, he's got his own.
I listen to everything. I grew up playing drum set, and drum set comes a lot of classic rock. So I listened to a lot of classic rock growing up. And then I got into when I was in college, I was majoring in commercial music, and I did a lot of like classical percussion pieces on marimba and things like that. And so a little bit of a background there. So I'm a huge fan of classical. And then I love hip hop, rap, R&B. I'd listen to everything, really. I mean,
that's awesome.
But in terms of like the bands that are the biggest influences to me, I'd say Muse is a big one. The Killers are a big one. And then obviously, you got Michael Jackson, the Rolling Stones. I don't know, man, just everything. So
yeah, I think that's awesome. You guys have such diversity, especially like between you two. It's important to have kind of those things that can come together and like expand your mind the way you think about things you're creating. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And also I have to wonder, you mentioned you're a drummer. I was a drummer too. So like, what was the first song you learned on the drums? There's a very distinct song when you mentioned classic rock, like every drummer learns. And there's one that I learned. I just want to check if that's the same one.
Oh, I learned the biggest, man, I can't remember the very first, I don't think. But there was one that I distinctly remember just wanting to learn and learned. And it was Carry On My Wayward Son.
Awesome.
By Kansas. That was the biggest. That was the big one. I was taking drum lessons at the time, and it was my first drum teacher. And he was just like, "Hey, what do you want to learn?" And I said that song, and then performed it in front of a small group of people. So I definitely put a lot of effort into that. But yeah, that was the first one for me. What about you? What's the first one?
Eye of the Tiger by Survivor.
Eye of the Tiger, dude. I had a feeling it was going to be that one, dude. Yeah. It's got the $1 million beat. It's got every drummer loves the million. I call it the $1 million beat because it's made $1 million.
Exactly, and that beat in that song is just so impactful. Like, there's a lot of songs that do it, like AC/DC. They do it a lot. Yep. But that song, it's so spacey that the beat just shines and it's so easy. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. No, that's like the perfect workout song.
Yeah, exactly. So how's the pandemic been for you guys?
Well, we did an EP.
Well, yeah, we did something. We it's oh, man. Honestly, it's been fine.
So
I think a lot. Yeah.
I'm a nurse in my professional life. So I mean, work's been good. So it hasn't necessarily impacted me as much, and or you either. I mean, you're a
No.
youth counselor, so
Yeah, no.
so yeah, we both kind of work in healthcare, which has not
Yeah.
gone belly up because of the pandemic. So and we've been isolating since before it was cool. So no major
Exactly.
changes here except for
Exactly.
masks when we step out to get gas and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're fine. Yeah, I mean, other than not being able to play shows, but I don't know.
Yeah, but it's been nice though, because I think it's taken the pressure off of arranging a show immediately so that we can focus more on, like I said, kind of navigating how we want our sound to be now that I'm in Stolen Stars. And so I feel like we're kind of coming together and creating something more cohesive that now we're going to be able to put together a show and take that to people. And I think it's come together a lot better than it would have if that was an immediate pressure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, that's something we've seen
So-
from quite a few artists is they've seen a positive from the pandemic because they've had to take a step back and say, like, what do we want to be going forward? Like, what's our platform to really be solid with instead of having to force something and, take the next step forward as quickly as possible.
Yeah, in fact, we really put an emphasis this last year on trying to build connections. And we made some pretty deep connections that we'll announce later, but
Awesome.
we're on the verge of breaking the barrier, I like to call it. There's just this barrier that musicians have to break before they get to the next level, and I think we're about to break it. So we're really excited for what's going to be going down and in the next couple of years. So
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys. So you mentioned playing shows. Did you guys play a lot of shows before the pandemic? What has your experience been with all that?
He's new, so he hasn't played any shows with me
Yeah,
yet.
I joined in during the pandemic.
Were you in any other bands before Stolen Stars? Like personally?
I wasn't. However, I've been kind of following the local music scene of Utah County and Salt Lake County since I was 16 years old. I was just a band junkie, and so a lot of my good friends were in bands, and so I've got that third person exposure to it, and I've been playing guitar and singing my whole life. And so, but yeah, never played a show, so it's going to be interesting when we pull the trigger there.
That would be exciting.
I'll probably be like Jim Morrison and just face away from the crowd for the first few shows.
Yeah, exactly. I've been performing my whole life. I've been doing shows a long time. But Stolen Stars was playing, frequent shows. I mean, yeah, we didn't want to. So here's the thing: we don't like to play too many. I don't like to play too many shows because no one's going to come to every single show. I mean, if you're playing in one state at a time. So I tend to try to stick to, like, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 shows a summer, because then that kind of allows people to kind of take a break and then come back if they want to see you again. Unless you're playing in places where you're getting new people every time. I don't know. It's just we just don't play a ton of shows. We like to play honestly like 3 like really big amazing shows and then come back strong the next summer or the next few months or whatever. So that's kind of our philosophy, because nobody wants to come see you every single month, you know what I mean?
Or every weekend.
Or every weekend or whatever it is.
I had friends who were in bands that they hit all the local venues within a month, and it was like every weekend they were at another venue, and their crowds were
just getting
fairly small, or they're getting smaller because people were kind of getting burned out on it,
Exactly. So I like I said, we play shows, but I like to stick to the big events and the the big venues, and then just do 3 or 4 big shows. We had the luxury in 2019. This is when London was in the band, and we played at Gay Pride Festival in St. George. That was the last show we played. But that was back in 19. So yeah, we haven't played a show. I haven't played a show in a year. But that's okay. Yeah, but we're gonna come back with a show this summer, and I think we're gonna just stick to the, like I said, just 3 or 4 big ones. So
Yeah, I like that philosophy. I mean, it's different for places like we've talked to artists in Nashville. You know, they're playing to restaurants, like they're playing places that already bring a crowd, and so it's different people, like you're saying, every time. But here in the Utah scene, I mean, it's kind of like you kind of help bring your own fans a lot of the time. Seems like. So if you're doing that, I agree. It's sometimes good to kind of get a really solid show a fewer times, so you can actually like promote the show and actually get the best it can be rather than spreading out and oversaturating it a bit. So it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can invest more in each show. You can bring more to the table that would be difficult to do on a frequent basis. But it's more worth it if you're doing it infrequently, and you can really give people a good time.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the experience of that one show they go to.
Right.
So, tell us about the Thought Broadcasting EP. Tell us about like the recording experience for you guys, and like more of what it means to you and what it's been like.
It's interesting. I feel like we have learned a lot about each other as brothers because of Thought Broadcasting. Because like I said, we came into this, or I came into Stolen Stars bringing something to the table that he wasn't necessarily expecting, and that we weren't sure was going to ultimately work, because our preferences in music are so vastly different. And so it kind of created like almost this psychosis within our music that just wasn't jiving. I mean, we had a track that it was the first track that we recorded together that we're not releasing on the EP, because it was just basically a learning experience for us, figuring out how we work together. And on that first song, it felt awkward. It didn't feel, and so we kind of had to take a step back after we recorded that first track and figure out how we're going to navigate, tracking music together moving forward. And so
but I think it's normal though.
Oh yeah,
totally. I think it's normal. I mean, when London was in the band, I mean, it took us 2 or 3 songs to really start jiving, you know what I mean? And it's sort of a give and take relationship, just like any other relationship. You may not love a certain idea, but you have to sort of accept where it's going and the expression it's going in. And it's sort of, learning to love what he loves, and, vice versa. It's kind of a give and take thing. And I think that goes for a lot of bands. I think everybody kind of wants to have some semblance of control over what's going on, but at the end of the day, you just kind of have to let it flow. And that was something that we learned together this EP. So that's what it means to us. I think right now is learning how we work together. And then we just thought, all of the songs together, it was just like, these are kind of everyday thoughts. These are kind of just just a broadcast of our ideas, and our what's the word, our thoughts, and the way we jive together. So anyways,
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's something I'm sure a lot of bands have to go through, is like, because a band's kind of like a family, I mean, for you guys, it is a family.
Yeah.
But having to bring someone into that when you have something established and saying, I'm accepting of who you are and what your influences are and how to make it better. I think that's something a lot of bands have to kind of come to terms with. And I'm sure it's always a process for everybody. So it's cool you guys are able to kind of help us recognize what that's been like for you guys.
Yeah. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. I've worked with a lot of different musicians, and in fact, that's why I prefer just the duo thing, is I like, smaller groups and things like that, rather than working with.
It's because we're both control freaks.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we kind of are, aren't we?
Yeah, we both have pretty strong personality types, and we're both very I don't know, very matter of fact and very sure of ourselves when it comes to what we want in a song or in an album or something like that. And so so we've kind of had to figure out a way for us to both meet in the middle and make that work, which we have. So basically the way that we do it is, and you'll notice this listening to Thought Broadcasting, is that every other song almost has a drastically different sound to it. And that's because we've kind of had to surrender creative control to each other on an alternating basis to make it work. Kind of like Dr. Dog. Dr. Dog does something similar. If you listen to their songs, is that, every other song is the other front man's baby. And then it comes together as a whole. And then, when you listen to the whole thing collectively, it doesn't sound out of place because you're expecting that pattern.
But that's a really good thing, though, because I think that's what I've always wanted our identity to be. I've always wanted Stolen Stars' identity to be, there are no limits. You know what I mean? I think I really wanted a band that we just kind of make what we feel like making. You know what I'm saying?
All right, here's what I'll say about it. It worked for the Beatles.
It worked for the Beatles. You just you like the way something sounds, and then you just make it. And I don't want Stolen Stars to have restrictions. I mean, literally the name Stolen Stars came from the idea of, the vastness of the universe and the vastness of the opportunities and musical ideas that can come from everywhere. We just don't want any, I don't know, we don't want any restrictions. It's really scary. I get really scared when someone pinpoints us as a certain type of band, and which makes sense that somebody would, but at the end of the day, I want it to just be whatever. So anyways.
Yeah, no, that freedom, it's super important. How would you guys say this album is, or this EP is, sonically compared to your previous releases? Like, what's changed in this new sound?
Well, oh man, I don't know. It's kind of, I'd say,
I don't know. I'm a little bit more detached from your older music, so I would say that the newer stuff is not as clean. In every sense. I mean, I bring more of a kind of a dirty, grungy aspect to the table. I've got
dirty. That's the word. Dirty. It's dirty.
I came and dirtied things up a little bit. I smeared,
Yeah, exactly. It's dirtier, dude. I love. Dude, that's
So I mean,
that's perfect.
It sounded very clean before, very, very put together, very clear cut, and then I came in and kind of muddied things up a little bit. I like heavier distortion on the guitars. I like sometimes I like a take that is not perfect because of the uniqueness of it, and so and like I said, I come from a background where I really enjoy psychedelic music, but I also am a big fan of folk music, and so I've got a lot of folk background too. And folk was never perfect. I mean, if you listen to old Bob Dylan tracks, I mean, they're just riddled with imperfections, but it gives it character. It makes it unique. So it's definitely not as tidy, in my opinion, as previous releases were.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No,
that's awesome, though.
Yeah, but it makes for, like I said, a very unique sound, because I am kind of more clean, and then you mix that up with kind of the dirty griminess, and because he's grimy. Ugh,
yeah.
Grimy.
Yuck. No, I'm just kidding.
It sounds like it'll be like a really fun live show when you guys get around to it, though, because that's one thing people love about like punk is the dirtiness, the genuity, I guess, of just getting out there and playing a show with these imperfections and with this energetic sound. I think it's kind of what you guys are shooting for, it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to some degree, for sure.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, no. Oh, and I'm a performer at heart, so I'm ready to get back out there and play some shows. Yeah, kind of going back to the pandemic. That's been I mean, like I said, we've been fine, but that's been, oh man, you just miss it. There's nothing that compares to being on stage. It's just it is such a thrilling experience.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, I mean, like, I hate, like, you get adrenaline.
Are you trying to say it makes you feel like God? Is that
I am. Well, yeah.
Everybody's got that thing, that makes them feel.
Yeah, no, I love being on stage, man. You're just totally free. You just have to stop caring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you stop caring, and then you're just like, this is awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it just takes over you. It's a different, like, out of body.
It really, dude. It really, no, seriously, it really is. Like, you'll start the show, and then as soon as the show's over, it feels like you're waking up, and you're like, hey, what just happened? I don't even know. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have to like go back and if you ever, get it filmed and you go back and watch your live performance, you're like, all right, I don't remember it being like that at all, but okay.
That's
Anyways.
awesome. No, that's totally true. So what advice would you guys have for artists that are just starting out and starting to get their roots and wondering what to do? Like, what advice would you give them as the first steps?
Apply to med school.
Go to med school. Don't be a musician.
Yeah,
No,
stay away from Guitar Center and all those other places that are offering sweet deals. Just
stay away.
take a different direction.
Stay away. No, it's man, starting out. Do you mean like in Utah specifically, or just in general?
Let's go both. I think both would be.
Let's go both.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, let's start with Utah. Right now, Utah is in a very good place musically, and in a very strange place musically. And what I mean by that is it is becoming more accessible to become, it's more accessible to get to the next level in music when you're in Utah. That's great. That's an awesome thing. But with that, it's going to become more competitive, right? More and more people are starting to come to Utah because of the music scene, right? Now, the biggest thing that I can say to musicians, and I regretfully say that I had this problem, don't make it more competitive. Make the Utah scene more healthy. And there are lots of ways you can do that, but essentially you just have to build other people up. You know what I mean? Be the band that's going to share other bands' posts, be the band that's going to invite other bands to play, be the band that, don't think that you are better than anybody else, because you're just not. You're not. I mean, even if you are, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to stay grounded at that level where I'm not better than everyone else. Everyone who's here has the same dream. You know what I mean? So you have to be the one trying to help them get to the next level. If you have your foot in the door in a venue that's hard to get a show at, be the band that's going to help that smaller band get into the door. And then that band is going to promote the heck out of you. And they're going to go, this band is the nicest band ever. Not that you should just do it because it's the right thing to do, but just be that. I think I've found way more success being, the band that's trying to help others rather than, be like, oh, well, I'm better than this, and so I'm just not going to.
It's
ridiculous.
recognizing that you're part of a community and being a team player within that community, as opposed to using the community as kind of a foothold to step on, if that makes sense. And I think one thing that's important to recognize about the counterculture, the musical counterculture in Utah, is that it is, in my opinion, directly correlated to the main culture in Utah. And so it has created a very, very large counterculture. There's not a whole lot to do in Utah, especially if you're kind of not in with the main culture of Utah. And so I think a lot of that just causes people to naturally flock to the music counterculture. And so it is very saturated. There are a lot of bands. There are a lot of local bands. And so for any artist getting started out in Utah, just recognizing that is something that they're getting themselves into is a big thing. The good thing about that, though, is that the music scene in Utah is and will be, for the foreseeable future, strong. For the last several decades, I mean, the music culture in Utah, of Provo and of Salt Lake, has been strong compared to other metropolitan areas in the country. I mean, outside of LA and New York scenes, obviously. But, I've been to other states like Arizona, like Phoenix and Tucson, and places like that. They don't have very strong music scenes because the culture is so diverse. And here it's pretty straightforward. It's like you've got a very religious main culture, and then for whatever reason that's created this counterculture of people that want to be involved in rebellious groups like musicians and music and things like that. And so it's created this strong counterculture. But that is very present when you're an upcoming band, is that it's really hard to be seen when you're just in a sea of other bands.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so doing something that makes you shine is important.
Yeah.
So,
But and I've found that you shine more though when you are being the person that is helping others. You know what I mean? So yeah, keep that in mind about culture and what that looks like in Utah, and then also to stand out. Just I don't know, man. Just try to be that band that isn't going to make it more competitive, but make it more of a community.
I totally agree. I love what you guys are saying. I mean, first off, with the culture thing, I think that's important, not just in Utah, but anywhere, to recognize what culture you're going into, like the music scene. I mean, Nashville's culture is different than Salt Lake's, or different than Provo's, and LA is different than them. So it's like, if you're going to go somewhere to do music, or, be somewhere and do music, you need to recognize the culture of the scene you're trying to get into.
Yeah.
And then also, like you were saying, build those relationships with those people, because I think the relationships are some of the most important things these bands can focus on building to be able to get ahead. I think so many focus on like Instagram followers and stuff like that, but these relationships and like the engagement people personally, it's worth so much more.
Yeah, and like I said, the first 2 years I made that mistake of focusing on not the relationship aspect of it. And as soon as you make that shift, you start to see way more progress. You know what I mean? Because here's the truth is, your first fans are musicians. You know what I mean? The people that are going to be listening to you are going to be these other bands, and they're going to be these musicians that have a very strong passion for music. So just building relationships with them, and then they're just out of respect and love for you, they're gonna say something about you.
Or it's like if they have like an opening for a show, they'll be inviting you to open up for them, and they'll introduce you to more fans and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And I mean, like, it's crazy to hear these stories of like, it just comes to mind. Do you guys know 21 Pilots or Walk the Moon? Yeah. So they're both from Ohio, and there was a show, 21 Pilots was playing in like a Mexican restaurant. Their only people in the audience was Walk the Moon. And so it's like you're saying, like playing these bands are your first fans, and those relationships, who knows how far they're going to carry you, but they're going to carry you so far in the beginning. So it's just such an important aspect to focus on. Totally agree.
And then going back to just in general, when starting out, man, I made some mistakes when I first started out. But I mean, first thing, I think it's great when you first get out there to have music out there, but that's not always attainable. Here's the thing. I think the best thing any band can do for itself, and we've been talking about this, is building relationships, and then making connections. And that could literally just be as simple as literally asking everyone who do you know that's well connected in the music industry? Literally. I mean, I asked my mom. I was like, Mom, do you know anybody who is involved in the music? And then she was just like, yeah, I kind of know somebody who does like a radio thing at BYU. Maybe I'll talk to him. And I got talking to him, and then I was like, do you know anybody? And then he was like, well, I kind of know this one guy who knows another guy. And so then I talked to that guy, and then you're just kind of, and then eventually I got in contact with a mass marketing guy, and his name is Kevin Coolidge. He's a great guy, and he's well connected in the music industry. And so now it's okay, well, how do we talk to those people? You know what I mean? And it's just kind of building those stepping stones. And I think a lot of people kind of overthink it, and they just go, oh my gosh, how am I going to build these connections? I don't know anybody. And it's like, you know a lot of people, and those people know people, and then those people know people, and just, step on the ladder. You know what I mean?
Totally agree. I mean, there's so many, you're going to hear no a lot of times. Like even just something as simple as like, do you know anybody? You're still going to get the answer is no when you're a starting artist. Yeah. But it's important to go through those no's to hit the yeses, because once you hit the yes, especially like the yes, the one you're looking for, it's going to be so important for your career.
So just, don't be afraid to talk to people. Musicians are afraid to talk to people. I've decided. We're all so reserved, and we all have mental health issues, and we just don't.
Well, and
Part of the package.
for bands that
Yeah.
are putting themselves out there too and trying to market themselves, I will say this: make sure that you have something to market. Don't market a product that doesn't exist. And so, if you're going to market something, you better be damn sure that whatever it is about yourself that you are marketing is that thing,
Mhm.
because there's going to be a grand unveiling at some point where the expectation is that you are what you are marketing. And so having the ammunition, being locked and loaded when you're at that point, is good. And that just comes from practice, from listening to music. I mean, it's such an important thing to actually sit down, when you're in your car, on your commuter, whenever it is that you have time, listen to music, expand your own musical horizons, get new influences, and create something that people want to hear. And then you'll have something that you can market. And practice, always practice. That's huge. You can't
Mhm.
be a great musician if you don't practice.
No,
So-
for sure.
Totally agree.
And then maybe something else I would say is, kind of going along with that. If you have like something that I did starting out that I actually kind of thought was a good idea was I was like, hey, I'm going to record a song first and then play shows. And the reason I did that was because I've been in bands before and they didn't have any music out. We'd go and play shows, and then people would go, okay, where can I find you? Where can I hear you? And we would just be like, nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then they just forget about you, right? And so then I was like, all right, well then I'm just gonna, with Stolen Stars, I'm gonna record something. And it sounded like shit. The first like it sounded so bad. But at least we had something out there and people could at least go, I just didn't want people to forget about us after a show. So that was another thing I did at the beginning that I don't regret. I thought was a good idea. So
That's
anyways,
something true. They have to have something to grab onto, whether
Yeah,
it's you
exactly.
can just even just having like an Instagram profile they can go to follow you is
Exactly.
better than having
Yeah.
nothing. But there should be something.
exactly. There has to be
MySpace
some-
music profile.
Yeah, MySpace. Let's
Yeah.
bring it back. Let's bring
Oh,
it
there
back.
you go. Bring
All
it
right,
back.
I'm old. You guys probably
Yeah.
don't remember the MySpace
The
music
MySpace.
profiles.
Let's
I've
do
heard
it.
the legends.
Yeah, it's a myth now. It's a myth. You have to. Can you even go on MySpace anymore?
It's still there.
Can you even do that?
It exists.
I think it's
Still
there.
there.
Yeah.
Is it still there?
It's
I've
there.
heard whispers of it. Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know who
Whispers.
manages their domain. But
I've
it's
heard
there.
whispers. It only exists in the heart of the souls who've been there. Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy how these platforms changed. Like they used to be so big.
Oh, that's fun.
But yeah, I love talking to you guys. I think you guys have some great points, especially for these new artists and all the advice you gave. Hunter, do you have any more questions that you'd like to ask them?
Ask away now.
Yeah.
Ask away.
I've been quiet this whole time, just thinking what I can ask. And I came up with, what are your social tags so people can find you?
Sorry.
You're
It took me 25 minutes, and that's the question I thought
Think
of.
of that.
What are your social tags?
What is our- so I don't even know what our Stolen Stars social tags are.
Oh, it's you can catch us on Instagram at Hey Stolen Stars, and Facebook is just Stolen Stars, and then Twitter is also Hey Stolen Stars at Hey Stolen Stars. And you can go check out our website, stolenstars.com, for all the info on
When does
upcoming.
Thought Broadcasting come out?
You don't know?
Tomorrow?
Oh my gosh, dude. It comes out. Thought Broadcasting, everybody, if this segment makes it in, Thought Broadcasting makes it this Friday, the 19th. That's March 19th. We are so excited for you guys to hear it.
Just making sure he knew.
Oh, I knew. I knew. Thanks
That's
for
awesome.
the test. Thanks for the test. No, March 19th, It's dropping. It's gonna be 4 songs, and it is we are so proud of it.
Yeah,
It is
check
it
it
is so
out.
good.
Spotify, Apple Music.
And there's already 2 songs that are out from the EP that are on Apple Music right now and Spotify. So go listen. What are you waiting for? Go.
I'm stoked to hear it.
Fantastic.
Right now.
I'm so excited for you guys to get your,
Thank
your EP out and then the new live shows. It's going to be a great year for you guys. I know it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we're
that'd be
excited. So-
fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right,
I
well,
do
thanks.
have one more question, actually.
Okay. What's your question?
So long term, so you guys have the other careers. You mentioned that you do What are your long-term goals with music? What's the involvement that you see yourself? Do you want it to be more focused on music going forward, or do you have a very specific place that music has in your life already, type of thing?
That's a good question. Music is my dream for sure, 100%. I'm gonna, I don't know how else to say it, but I'm gonna make it. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
the mentality that I have. Is there's no other option, and I'm gonna make it. But with that being said, I do work as a youth. I mean, I do behavioral therapy at a group home, and I love this job. I love that job. I love working with kids, and I love being able to help them grow and learn. So that's been great. So I'll probably hold on to that line of work until something happens with music. So that's
Isn't that
my
awesome?
plan. That's
Yeah.
my plan. And I love it. But this guy's a nurse, so I mean, he's kind of already he's
Well, I
grounded.
mean, I specifically chose nursing because I feel like I have a propensity for healthcare. I think that's just kind of how our family is. We're just very giving and helpful people.
Interesting.
And so I chose that line of work specifically, though, because nurses generally only work 3 days a week. We work 3 12-hour shifts, which frees up 4 days in a row for me to work on creative projects. Because ultimately, I am a creative person at heart as well. I also write. So I really enjoy writing short stories and poetry and things like that, in addition to the music. And so, I'm somebody who takes so much pleasure in the fact that I've created something that for me, that is in and of itself, such a, I don't know, an endorphin producing thing.
It's a reward.
It's like him
it's
being
rewarding.
on the stage, that's my reward. But however, as a consequence of that, we do make it to the top, awesome. I'll retire as a nurse because I won't need to do it anymore.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, I feel like, with that line of work, I do have an abundance of time to work on whatever projects I want. And it's been great. So
We're dreamers, guys. Dream
Yeah.
big.
There
You guys are dreamers too. I mean, you guys are making an app.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
An app.
Yeah.
That's work.
Yeah.
That's work, but it's a
Yeah.
dream. You guys, you did it. That's awesome. You guys did it.
We're getting
It'll
there.
release, dude. Oh man, that's so cool, man. You
So I've
guys
got a
are
little
awesome.
Well,
tag along
thanks.
question for that last
Yeah.
one. You're both in like kind of career fields, or I guess job fields of helping people, like healthcare and then behavioral camps or whatever. Do you think that plays any role in like what you want to achieve with music, and like do those kind of link together?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, our first show back, we want to do, and this is on the hush hush. If you ask me. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. We'll announce it. Like we'll get more announcement on it later. But the first show back, we want to do a charity concert for mental health. I think mental health is a huge thing for us, both in turn because we've experienced mental health problems that we've had to overcome, and then also we just want to help others kind of step over that hurdle as well. And so yeah, I mean, just affecting show wise. I mean, we want to do this big charity concert, so that there's that, and then yeah, I mean, there's definitely some elements of when I'm writing my lyrics. There's some elements of this is what or what others, or what I'm experienced with mental health. So yeah, I mean, and going forward, I think that's going to be a huge we're going to be huge advocates for mental health and healthcare. So
Yeah, that's extremely important.
Fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not enough people talk about. I mean, it's starting to be talked about a little bit more now, which is great, but I still think we can push the boundaries even more. So
Exactly. I mean, especially with musicians. I mean, as we're trying to get like the stories behind musicians and everything, that's something I think musicians go through so often.
Oh,
that really
dude, I had a professor in college. I had a professor in college, and he just said the more creative you are, the more messed up in the head you are. It's just how it happens.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
like,
No
it's
kidding.
yeah, and he didn't even hesitate. He just said it. He was just like, "Yep, the more creative you are, the more kind of messed up you are." And it's, I mean, and every musician I've met, they all have a story, and they all need, everybody needs help. So
That's true.
we're huge
Yeah.
advocates for mental health. So
Awesome.
That's
I love what you
awesome.
guys are doing. I love your vision. I love hearing your advice, and I love talking to you guys today. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I wish we could talk longer, man.
Yeah, for
It's been
sure.
Yeah.
fun.